Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us for our next conversation with the Superintendent video series. I'm so grateful to have our panel joining us here over spring break to talk about an important conversation around our upcoming LGBTQ Equity Week, which is scheduled for the week of April 12th. We are recording today's session in both English and Spanish, and the recording will be available on our website at district65.net. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started with some introductions.
Hi, I'm Dr. Stacy Beardsley, Assistant Superintendent of Curriculum and Instruction, and my pronouns are she, her, and hers.
Hi, I am Dr. Romy DiCristofaro. I'm the Assistant Superintendent of Student Services, and my pronouns are she, her, and hers.
Hello, I'm Devon Alexander, Manager of Equity, Diversity, and Family and Community Engagement. My pronouns are he and him.
Hi, my name is Tanya Margonza. I'm the Community Engagement Facilitator, and my pronouns are she, her, and hers.
Hello, my name is Dr. Devon Horton, and I'm the Superintendent, and my pronouns are he and him.
And I'm Melissa Messenger, Director of Communications, and my pronouns are she, her, and hers. All right, Dr. Horton, if you want to go ahead and get us started.
Hello, District 65 community. Thank you for turning in to this episode of our Conversations with the Superintendent video series. Today, I'm joined by members of our D65 staff and community to answer a few questions and share more information about our upcoming LGBTQ+ Equity Week during the week of April 12th. We're so excited to celebrate the week, which is ultimately about building community, honoring the diversity of our community, and affirming students and staff who are LGBTQ+. Transgender, non-binary, and gender non-conforming. Since our Latinx Heritage Equity Week and Black Lives Matter Week at School of Action, our LGBTQ+ Equity Week is aligned with our equity goals as a district, and we are supported in our celebration of the week in partnership with district administration, our school board, and our 5 unions representing District 65 educators and staff members. Today, our goal is to provide greater insight into the importance of LGBTQ+ Equity Week and to address some questions we have received from members of our community. I think it's important that we start by providing some context and understanding on the why. Why is the district engaging our community in LGBTQ+ Equity Week? Why are these lessons and activities so important within our school communities? We have heard from those who have acknowledged and the need for this learning, and also those who are trying to understand why these discussions are taking place in school. Mr. Alexander?
Well, here at D65, we take our responsibility seriously to create an inclusive and welcoming environment where every child can feel safe, valued, and has support and encouragement to reach their full potential. Students and staff view schools and classrooms as another place where they can express their identities and bring their true full selves to. And we hope that through celebrating this week with them, we can create a more welcoming environment and show that it's perfectly fine to be who you are and to be accepted and belong in your community. We also know that members in the LGBTQ+ community experience bullying at a substantially high rate. 86% of LGBTQ+ youth have reported being harassed or assaulted at school. Celebrating the week will allow us to show our solidarity and support for members of our community who experience these inappropriate acts and are victims of misconduct, and offer them and their peers resources to identify and redirect those behaviors.
Thank you, Devon. Dr. Beardsley, can you talk more about what the learning will look like for our students, staff, and families? What are the themes of learning?
Of course, thanks, Dr. Horton. I think before diving into the content of the lessons, it's important to note that all of the lessons for the week center both the academic and social emotional learning needs of our children. They focus on building community and are vital to supporting our direct mission for preparing students to contribute positively to a global and diverse society. In preparation for this year's lessons, we gathered feedback after last year's LGBTQ+ Equity Week, and a group of educators worked collaboratively to refine and improve our lessons. We're proud of this work and the lessons that will be experienced by our students. Each grade level has clear and important learning. One concern that was noted from our community was a question about whether the lessons were developmentally appropriate for our students. Our educators kept this concern in mind as they developed and carefully reviewed the lessons and activities to ensure that they are age and developmentally appropriate. The lessons draw on high quality external resources. For example, GLSEN, HRC, the Human Rights Campaign, and the Anti-Defamation League. Educators use those high quality resources and then adapted them where necessary to incorporate racial equity and intersectionality in alignment with our district goals. The lessons and activities will take about 30 to 40 minutes each day over the course of 5 to 6 instructional days, and will be delivered during synchronous learning time with our educators. We see our educators as having an important role in navigating this learning, building safe communities, and supporting students with questions as we move through the learning.
Dr. Beardsley, can families view the content of the lessons and the materials that educators will use, or can anyone answer that?
Oh, absolutely. So the lessons can be viewed, and they can be viewed at the district65.net Equity Week's website.
Thank you. This is great clarity for the community and how the lessons and activities for the week are creating and giving more insight into the approach that was taken to ensure that these lessons are developmentally and age appropriate for our students. I know that for many of our families, this context is important and may make them feel more at ease, while others may still be experiencing discomfort and other emotions. Even with this context, why doesn't the district support students opting out? Ms. Alexander?
You know, our educators have worked hard to develop thoughtful, age-appropriate activities for LGBTQ+ Equity Week in our schools. This set of activities and lessons will help students learn about LGBTQ+ identities and historical figures. This is a part of our district-wide learning experience, and all students are expected to engage as we work collectively to build a more inclusive, welcoming environment for our students and staff. The common misconception we've been hearing is that some parents feel that the content we are providing students mirrors that of a sex education course. And while the socially constructed concepts of sexuality and gender are discussed, none of the lessons are focused on or are considered sex education. These lessons are designed to promote our building a healthy school community, a healthy citizenship within our communities as we learn to engage with care and consideration regarding our individual and collective human dignity.
Thanks, Devon. We know that our team had taken great care in terms of developing these lessons and to help our community of learners develop a greater understanding of those who are LGBTQ plus and their contributions. But Dr. Beardsley, can you share more for parents and families or students or staff who still have questions? Who can best support their concerns?
Of course. So first, I'd really encourage families to take time reviewing the learning. I truly believe that many of the questions or concerns can be addressed by taking the time to look at the lessons and the content and the learning experiences. Specifically, by going to the website we just mentioned a minute ago and looking at the at-a-glance sheet in each grade is a great place to start. That at-a-glance sheet provides the week's focus and then shares with you the learning for each day. And it's at a one-page level, so you get a sense of the full week in one place. And then those that are interested in better understanding the resources underneath have links to be able to see the lessons at a greater depth. So I strongly encourage you taking the opportunity to do that. And I think that will begin to answer a lot of the questions. And just to give you a quick sense of a couple examples, our preschool students at JEH will be learning about the purpose of flags, and they'll learn about the pride flag and the meanings and the interpretations of the colors in that flag. And then students will be asked to make a class flag as well as individual flags as they enact the idea that flags bring forward values and beliefs and have the opportunity to create their own. And then a second example, our fifth graders are going to discuss foundational characteristics of gender. They're going to analyze masculinity and femininity as well as androgyny. And while learning about gender and other cultures, they'll take that learning and put it in other cultures and see how this shows up in cultures that are present and past, and discuss how this has impacted our society today. And so there's a lot of really good academic and social emotional learning embedded in these lessons that, as Devon brought up earlier, helped to bring forward the ideas of identity and safety and inclusiveness within our communities. It's about community building and seeing who we really are. And then just each lesson, each series of lessons culminates in an activity for students to engage in. If questions or concerns remain, we really strongly encourage parents or caregivers to reach out and share their concerns first with the child's educator. And then if those issues need further discussion, please reach out to your school leaders, and they'll provide a space or an opportunity for parents and caregivers to share their feelings and concerns. While we encourage parents to own whatever feelings they have about this week and this learning, we ask that parents and caregivers remain mindful and respectful to the educators practicing these lessons and activities, especially those classes being held in a remote setting. Please refrain from interrupting classroom remote learning and reserve parental concerns or thoughts for the child's educator or school leader outside of the time when the lesson is being delivered or taught. We understand that in many of our settings, there are students who do identify as members of the LGBTQ+ community, and we do not want insensitive comments or certain actions to impact them in our classroom settings. And so we ask that you please respect our classroom learning spaces and reserve those for our teachers and our students.
And I also want to reiterate that while we understand that parents will have concerns, the intention of the week is really rooted in allowing students and staff to build community with one another and have a better understanding of their peers and ultimately of themselves. Our community consists of so many voices and cultures, faiths and backgrounds. It's important to recognize and acknowledge this so that commonality can be found in our differences. And my hope is that our children, our students, will also learn to appreciate who they are and show up to school as their authentic selves. And then at the end of the day, it all comes down to respecting each other, mutual respect within our schools and within our communities of staff, parents, partners, and our students.
Okay. Outside of LGBTQ+ Equity Week, what is the district doing to support students and staff who are LGBTQ+, transgender, non-binary, and gender non-conforming?
Our LGBTQ+ Equity Week was designed to provide a more complete account of the role of historically marginalized people in our society. We continue to further support this important work in our district, and over the past year, we've updated our administrative procedures, including gender support plans. At the district level, we have a district gender support team that is made up of educators, administrators, and a board member. This team works together to ensure policies and procedures are followed to support and affirm transgender and gender expansive students and employees. Each building also has a gender support coordinator who can serve as a resource. Ongoing professional learning is an important part of this work. And last school year, all staff were provided professional learning through Lurie's Children's Hospital on supporting LGBTQ+ students. All new educators are trained as part of new educator orientation. And then additionally, our gender support coordinators participate in an annual training that goes deeper into the topic. We are currently working with a consulting group called Chicago Therapy Collective, who are in the process of reviewing our existing policies and procedures and collecting information through surveys and interviews with staff in order to design further and more tailored professional learning that will help us as a district continue to improve and grow.
Thanks for sharing all of this, Romy. Where can students or staff access all of the resources you just mentioned?
So any student, parent, or staff member with questions or looking for support can contact their school's gender support coordinator or any trusted person at school. The gender support team and school coordinator can work together to develop an individualized gender support plan for students upon request, and if that is what is desired. You can also find a list of coordinator contact information on our website, along with other resources, including information on the importance of using pronouns, LGBTQ+ key terms that were provided by Lurie's Children's Hospital, and the District 65 Equity Glossary, which provides additional resources and a list of community organizations that students and families can partner with.
Wow. Thank you for taking the time to answer these important questions from our community. I know that your responses will provide more clarity and information on the LGBTQ+ Equity Week. We're excited to celebrate the week with our students, educators, and families, and encourage our families to connect with their educators and school leaders with any remaining questions if they were not answered in this episode. We look forward to connecting with our families again for our next round of conversations with the superintendent. Thank you for joining us today. Wishing you all a safe and productive week. Take care.